certainly very excited to be here today to kick off our new year-long series of the New York MBA Affordable Housing. The New York MBA Affordable Housing Committee was created in June 2023 this year, and is chaired by Brian Garris, Vice President and Sales Manager, Residential Lending of Catskill Hudson Lending. Our purpose was to develop the committee as New York MBA industry resource for community investment opportunities by facilitating engagement with housing stakeholders and nonprofit affordable housing agencies that strive to promote affordable housing, housing security, and community development services. Some of our goals and objectives include collaborate with housing resource agencies and industry stakeholders to support local housing agencies with home affordability initiatives statewide via service opportunities, identifying systemic challenges to affordable homeownership and a healthy real estate ecosystem, evaluate and promote available down payment assistance and grant fund options that represent functional resources for home buyers in low to moderate income census tracts. And then, of course, support and promote the initiatives of the National MBA. The New York MBA Affordable Housing Series will be held on the third Friday of each month, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To kick us off today is Sherry Eccles, who is the Vice President, Marketing Manager for Norcom Mortgage. Sherry's also the Treasurer of the New York MBA Executive Board and a New York MBA board member. Very active. Thank you, Sherry. Throughout her career, Sherry has been a passionate advocate for increasing access to home ownership, renovation lending, financial literacy, and affordable housing in both the public and private sectors. Formerly with Sonny Mae, Sherry was the Senior Vice President of the Single Family Program with focus on increasing home ownership for low and moderate income first-time home buyers. And prior to Sonny Mae, Sherry managed several mortgage origination offices, renovation operation centers, and held various leadership roles at M&T Bank Correspondent Lending Division. Sherry is a licensed attorney, has an MBA from the University at Albany, and is a graduate of the Albany Law School. And Sherry is extremely passionate about affordable housing. Sherry, we're very excited to have you kick us off today, and I will hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jody. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for attending the first installment of the Affordable Friday series. I could not be more thrilled with the person that we have kicking off this initial installment in Michelle DiBenedetto, who has been one of the most passionate and energetic people. I don't know where she gets all of her energy relating to affordable housing that I have ever met in 30 years in this business. And I'm thrilled to know her. She has been the Director of Special Programs at Long Island Housing Partnership for the last 14 years. And prior to that, she was an excuse me, area director for Citibank, managing all of their branch operations in the Bronx, hundreds of people. So she's got a ton of energy. She's also got a beautiful daughter and wonderful son-in-law and a wonderful granddog named Juliet, who she's thrilled for and is happy to have until there's a non-furry granddaughter I just want to also thank Jody for her leadership in giving us the space and the support and everything that we need to be able to operate in the Affordable Housing Committee, and also for Brian Garris for having the foresight to create this committee in the first place and pushing for that. It's been really wonderful to have this opportunity for the New York MBA to venture more into this space, provide more access and education to the lenders of the tools that are available. And then I'd also like to thank Christina for all of the work that she did to make this happen in terms of setting up the meetings and promoting it and all the other things. And then also I'd like to thank Kathy Calderola from LIHP, who is behind the scenes operating the slides and being the tech support on the Long Island Housing Partnership side. So I'm thrilled you're all here, and Michelle definitely has a lot of great information for you. And then I'm going to ask her a few questions when we're finished, and then we'll open up to the group for Q&A. And then if you have anything that pops up in between, we'll be monitoring and asking those questions as well. So Michelle, I am thrilled that you're here. I can't thank you enough. I don't think we could possibly have had a better person to kick this off. So I will turn it over to you, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sherry, for giving us the opportunity to talk to the group today. Sherry and I have been working together a good number of years and have a wonderful relationship, does a fantastic job, and we are delighted to be here. Thank you to Christine and Jody for inviting us to be here this afternoon. And a very special thank you to my colleague, Kathy Calderola, our IT director here at the partnership, because without her, our slides would not be as wonderful as they are. So a special thank you there. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background about the Long Island Housing Partnership. Since its inception in 1988, we have worked to provide affordable housing opportunities to those who the ordinary unaided operation of the marketplace would be unable to secure or remain in a decent and safe housing. And across our 35 years, we've helped over 100,000 people obtain that American dream of home ownership. We have many entities that make up the parent corporation, which is known as the Long Island Housing Partnership, Inc. And we have on our slide here all the different entities, and I'm going to highlight a few of them for you today. The Long Island Partnership Housing Development Fund Company is, and its mission is when we get properties to develop, we put them in that particular entity, whether they're 72H properties that we get from the various municipalities, or homes that we had that were damaged by Superstorm Sandy, or any other ways in which we acquire home ownership. We put them in that entity, and that's the entity that we rehabilitate the homes. We work with first-time home buyers who are at 80% or below of the area median income. The same applies also for the Nassau-Suffolk Partnership Housing Development Fund Company. We also have a Community Development Financial Institution, CDFI. In that particular entity, we lend to builders and entities to rehabilitate, to acquire, rehabilitate, and sell homes to first-time home buyers. And then, of course, we have, and I should have said at the beginning that the Long Island area as a whole is a high taxed area. So one of the things that we established in 2016 was the Long Island Partnership CLT Housing Development Fund Company. The Community Land Trust is a model that has been in the United States for over 60 years. And we have had the program on Long Island for 5 years. And we work in Nassau and Suffolk County. And what we do is there's the purchase price for the home and the subsidized purchase price. So we look at ways in which we can get grant dollars, and whether it's 72H or donated land, that's the way in which we continue to make it affordable for people at 80% or below. And so I'm going to go into now some of the ways in which we do that. Under our we are a technical assistance provider. So when developers and municipalities are working on developing projects, certain percentage needs to be affordable. So we work with our developers, let's say it's 10% needs to be affordable. We work with them on their development through our technical assistance arm. We do with the lotteries, we do all the advertising, marketing, we prepare all the applications. We do really work with them to ensure we do a lottery to ensure that they meet that obligation. And again, as I said, Long Island is a high cost area. So this is another way in which we are achieving our mission of getting additional homes for our low to moderate income population. We are a not-profit developer, so we do acquire land, get donated, and again, we work building it and putting, again, first-time home buyers in them. We use our CDFI for our community lending. And one of the things that really I wanted to focus on today as well is our education and counseling. We work with first-time home buyers, and we really help them make that American dream of home ownership really happen for them. I mean, we have very seasoned, HUD-approved mortgage counselors that have worked with homeowners, you know, sometimes 2 years, 2.5 years, but we do get them to achieve that American dream. And that's why our mortgage partners and our financial institutions are so important to us. As I said, we are a HUD certified agency. All of our counselors are HUD certified, and we met the deadline of August 2020, and they continue to, you know, have training and are updated whenever an update is required. Now, when we go through a mortgage counseling session, we talk to them about their affordability, their credit. Now, some people are ready immediately to purchase. Some people are 90 days away, some are 18 months, some are 2 years. But we work with them on how to improve their credit if that is something they need. We also make sure that they have the savings. We talk about down payment assistance and closing costs. And we also talk about various grants and programs that are available so that when our home buyer walks away, they know the amount of grants that they have and what other programs are out there and available to them. One of the things that we do, let's say they're mortgage ready and they're ready to move forward, we provide them with 3 lending options, and then the homeowner, potential homeowner, gets to pick which financial institution they wish to use. In addition, we also tell them what grant programs are available. For example, if they're a first-time home buyer, they may want to be part of NYMBA, the state of New York mortgage agency. They may want to participate in that. NORCOM, maybe there's mortgage and there's down payment and closing costs assistance available. There's many financial institutions that we work with, and we let the homeowner know that as well. In addition, when we pull their credit, it's a soft pull, so it does not affect their credit score, and that does not diminish their credit score number. And we give them an action plan and continue to work with them until they reach that dream of a home ownership. I'd like to now go through some of our down payment and closing cost assistance. Now, on our website, lihp.org, you will find all of the various programs that we administer. And when you will be able to sign up and say, let's say, for example, Nassau County, we work with their down payment assistance program. Right now, the program is closed, but it will reopen sometime throughout 2023. And it's on our website, and people can sign up and put their name in so that when it does open, they are given that opportunity, and we let them know. Then we have the town of Babylon down payment assistance, which is open right now. And again, you can look on that. And we also list the villages and hamlets in the town that covers it. Again, with the town of Brookhaven, that one's due to open up shortly, but it's closed right now. Again, when that's open, we will absolutely let them know. And Suffolk County, their down payment assistance is open right now, and we list, and you will get this presentation at the end, and lists the phone number that you can call to get signed up and involved. So again, when we do our mortgage counseling, our homeowners are all advised of that. Now, on Long Island, there's the Employer Assisted Housing Program. That program was established in 2009, 2010. In that time frame, employers came to the Long Island Housing Partnership because what they found was that their employees could not afford to live on Long Island. And they were having what they called the brain drain. They weren't able to recruit and retain their employees, so they started this program. And the way it works is the participating employers refer one of their employees to us, and the employer provides either $3,000 to $10,000 in assistance. And then we work with the state, and they can get, up to $40,000 and sometimes more in assistance to rehabilitate the home. As I said, Long Island's housing stock is old, so if we're trying to retain and recruit new residents to Long Island, this is a wonderful program that really has worked, and some of the grants are forgiven after 5 to 10 years. So it's a great program, and a lot of employers have taken advantage of it. Then we have the community land trust program. And we work and really try to, the homeowner owns the structure and leases the land for 99 years. And many of these homes are, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are in the 100-year floodplain. So we've raised them to ensure that the home would not require that amount of homeowners insurance. If the house sits in the flood zone and it is not raised, the insurance that they would need would prohibit it from being affordable to anyone at 80%. So those homes that we are building under the Community Land Trust Program are raised to meet FEMA standards and local building standards, so that the homeowner pays, you know, regular insurance is not as that increased value. The other program that we established right around the same time as our we are working with Superstorm Sandy was the Community Stabilization Program, which goes up to 130% of the AMI. And so you can see, as for a family of 4, it's $190,330. That's to buy a foreclosed, blighted, or distressed property anywhere on Long Island. And this was also established when we had the foreclosure crisis, when we have, as I said, aging housing stock, so the houses are blighted and distressed. And we are now, you know, it brings families back into communities. And again, if they stay in the house for 10 years, it's totally forgiven. And it's $30,000 in down payment assistance. So that really helps first-time home buyers. So what they do from time to time, if they're using this program, they'll use that grant for down payment and closing cost assistance, and then use the funds they've been saving to rehabilitate the home. So it turns out to be a win-win for both the community, the municipality, and everyone involved. So that program is going very, very well. I'm always available to answer any questions. You have my contact and my email address. I would be delighted to answer any questions, and I really do thank everyone for their attention. And I hope you found it informative.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Michelle. So I do have some follow-up questions and some comments too. So Long Island Housing Partnership, as you can see from Michelle's presentation, they do a lot of really important work on Long Island, facilitating, the purchase of homes by first-time home buyers, but also in the development of affordable housing stock, working with properties that have become vacant and abandoned due to damage from Superstorm Sandy or other things that have happened subsequent to that. So they've been really critical. And then their CLT is also a really important tool in terms of preserving affordability. So the reason that I wanted them to come on is because they really are one of the premier, if not the premier, organizations of this nature in New York State. But there are organizations like this all across New York State. So there are community land trusts all over the state. There are 60 different organizations that provide homebuyer counseling and access to grants and subsidies. And one of the major benefits, as Michelle mentioned, with the homebuyer counseling is the fact that they help the borrower gather all their documents. They help with credit repair. They connect them with down payment assistance, grants and subsidies and resources that they may qualify for. So as a mortgage lender, by the time you've received a referral from one of these groups, they're in essence, they're pre-processed and basically ready to go. They've also been educated on what they can afford. Their expectations have been managed in terms of the housing stock, and they also have the knowledge and support from those groups should they need to purchase a fixer-upper that will help facilitate the purchase of the home. So Michelle is president of also a group called HomeSmartNY. This is a group of all of the nonprofits. And so Michelle, if you want to talk a little bit about HomeSmartNY, and then also maybe the difference between, a HUD certified housing counseling agency, a HomeSmartNY member, and then also there's NeighborWorks America, which is another coalition of these nonprofit housing counseling agencies, just so people understand what the differences are. And, some groups could be both or all three or whatever.
Thank you, Sherry. Yes, you're right. Some groups are all three. HomeSmartNY was established right around the time when we had the foreclosure crisis. And where HomeSmartNY is across New York State, it's not-for-profits working in the housing arena. They provide, like the Long Island Housing Partnership, counseling services. When we look at ways in which people can remain in their homes, the mortgage counseling piece of default is very, very important. HomeSmartNY is a group of agencies that, and to do mortgage counseling, and you need to be HUD certified agency. Many of us are members of HomeSmartNY, and many of us are members of NeighborWorks. Some of us do all three. But to provide mortgage counseling and to be part of the New York Mortgage Coalition, which we are a member, and many other groups are members, we work to ensure that as a coalition, HomeSmartNY will in fact advocate to help get the word out that there are agencies that can help home buyers keep the homes that they have. So we're HUD certified. HomeSmartNY, there are members across New York State that are not-for-profit organizations that work to help people with their mortgage counseling services. When they go through mortgage counseling, both on the foreclosure prevention side, as well as the first-time home buying side, you at the group as mortgage bankers get a client that is ready to acquire. As Sherry said, we put the packages together, we give it to you ready so that you can provide the mortgages to that. And we and many of the organizations that are part of HomeSmart remain the link between the mortgage provider, the client, and then the not-for-profit. So we try to ensure that we keep the process moving.
Yes. And Michelle mentioned a lot of the down payment assistance programs that are available on Long Island. And so those are things that also either are already or can be replicated in other markets. So it's possible to set up employer assistance housing programs there is a source of funds for a lot of these that comes from state funding. So, the home program, AHC, the way that those funds are distributed to borrowers, or that they get access to that money, is through the nonprofit partners. So the nonprofit partners will put in requests for those funds. They get awarded the funds, and then they work with the borrowers in order to provide the funds. So it's really critically important from a mortgage lending perspective to know that if you want your borrowers to have access to these resources, the partners are the key. And so I wanted to talk about that. Also, they work with borrowers on the DREAM program, which is the Federal Home Loan Bank down payment assistance program. And then the Sunny Mae program has a 3% down payment assistance loan that comes with every transaction as of right. And they do require home buyer counseling as one of the requirements for most Sunny Mae transactions. We will also I'll take 1 second to plug, we will be doing a session on community land trusts, because in addition to the way that they can be used as a tool in communities to preserve affordability, there are different financing requirements because there is an underlying ground lease and deed restrictions that come along with that. So we'll be doing a session dedicated to that. We'll be doing a session on Sunny Mae. We'll be doing a session on a more deep dive on down payment assistance. So there will be a lot more to come in terms of educating you on all of these things. But just to get an idea of, Long Island Housing Partnership participates in basically every possible area of this home ownership development. And so it seemed like they would be the best example to hold out to show everybody what's in their community. So my next question for you, Michelle, would be, how do they find a group in their area? And then also, what are the things that you look for when you're trying to partner with a lender? What are the decisions? If you're saying to a borrower, here are 3 options, what would a lender do to be one of those options in your world?
When we look, well, first and foremost, all of our mortgage lending is fixed rate. We don't look at any adjustable rate mortgages, because our long-term goal is to keep the homeowner in their home. So we look for that. We look for, are they a Sunny Mae lender? Not always, but that is a plus, because we look to bring as much down payment and closing cost assistance to our home buyer. So we look for that as well. And we look to have that one-on-one relationship with the financial institute, the mortgage, the client, and of course, making sure that if there are grants available from the from the specific mortgage provider, that we know that. So from time to time on Long Island, and we usually do it once a year in the first quarter of the year, we hold what we call a banker's breakfast. And we invite the financial institutions to come in and talk to our mortgage counselors, so that we have a good idea of what the financial and the mortgage bankers are offering in their specific programs, so that when we do give them their 3 options, we can say Norcom provides this, M&T provides this, etc., so that we can give an educated, our client, when they come to you, are educated. You know what that old saying, our educated consumer is our best customer. So we really try to do that, and do the best for both you as the mortgage provider, and us, and more importantly, our clients.
So I know that we had a website, the HomeSmartNY website, where you could put in a zip code and you could find a partner in a particular area. And I know HomeSmartNY took a little bit of a hit You know, most of the resources were derived from the annual convention, which we couldn't have for a couple of years because of COVID. So but Michelle is one of the most persistent and energetic people in the world. So she's driving the rebound of the group, and so that's one way that you can find folks. And you know, Googling for home buyer counseling agencies is another good one. And then can you talk a little bit too about the NeighborWorks network?
Again, a group of organizations that work together throughout. They're out throughout the entire state, and they again work in their respective communities. Like there's NHS of Jamaica, and there are many different agencies across the state, and again they work locally in their specific communities. So again, they partner with not-for-profit organizations. The one thing also that all of our grants have in common is that they require mortgage counseling. So, and each of the grantors want from us a certificate saying that they did have mortgage counseling and were qualified for the program. And so many of the not-for-profits across New York State do that and provide mortgage counseling and a certificate that marries them to their specific grant. We do that for all of our programs. So I do encourage everyone to really reach out in their specific communities for their not-for-profits. And as Sherry said, you might even think about starting up an employer-assisted housing program if in fact you have, the need to retain and recruit employees across your specific spot in the state.
Yeah, that brain drain has been a problem across the state for a long time. And these groups do help in terms of getting people into homes, which keeps them in New York State. And there's obviously a lot of opportunity with folks that are going to be graduating with that went to school under the Excelsior Scholarship Program. So they're not going to have student loan debt. And, they'll be in a position to buy homes, and we'd like to try to get them into housing so that they don't wind up somewhere else after the fact.
And that's one of the beauties of the Community Land Trust Program, because under the Community Land Trust Program, the homeowner buys it for the subsidized sales price, and which makes it more affordable. They have a 99-year ground lease, so there's the purchase price, the subsidized purchase price, and in the middle is all of the respective grants that we're able to provide to bring it down. And if you can bring down the purchase price to the subsidized purchase price, especially on Long Island, where we have such high property taxes, and I'm sure there are other parts of the state as well, that makes the house affordable and makes it that they're able to stay on Long Island. So that's one of the programs that we're highlighting and really going to help with that whole retention and the brain drain that has really affected especially Long Island.
Yeah, and I think obviously the benefits from a lender perspective, in addition to the fact that the originate these loans is lower because they're basically pre-processed, they've been vetted, so there's a benefit to us. But there's also been multiple studies through Freddie Mac, through HUD, and other organizations to show that they are extremely effective in ensuring that a borrower is more likely to perform on their mortgage. I think the statistics are 40% or more, depending on which study you look at, more likely to be able to perform on your mortgage after closing if you have gone through home buyer counseling prior to closing. And that is, I think, a function of two things. One is obviously an educated consumer is going to be more aware of their options in the event that they are starting to fall behind or feel that they're falling behind. But the other thing, this is my segue into the other topic we were going to talk about, Michelle, which is foreclosure prevention, just quickly. And that is also because they have these relationships with the groups up front, that puts them in a better position to be able to do outreach for foreclosure prevention. So Michelle, that's another thing that Long Island Housing Partnership and most of the groups across the state provide. So I wanted to give you a chance to talk a little bit about that as well.
Right. There was a study, you're right, that was done that really goes along the lines of an educated consumer is our best client. And that's why, you know, as we said before, we had clients that, you know, 2.5 years down the road are, you know, working to acquire their first home. Now, as far as foreclosure prevention, we always keep in touch periodically with our homeowners so that if, you know, a homeowner has come through one of the not-for-profits across New York State, when they get into trouble, their first port of call is to us saying, you know, you helped me get the mortgage, you helped me get the various grants. Now I'm having a little bit of problem meeting my mortgage. And we will work with the client and the financial institution or the mortgage provider to help see if those home, that they can stay in their home. Now, when you work with a person that's facing foreclosure of their home, you know, they are, they're sensitive. It's hard for them to raise their hand and say, hey, wait a minute, I can't meet my obligation. And so we're always cognizant and sensitive to that. We help them work with the mortgage provider to see if they can restructure their loan so that they can stay in their home. And when we go through that counseling piece, if you will, we have a separate group here at the partnership that provides that foreclosure prevention counseling, you know, helps them as they go through it to say, hey, wait a minute, we can stay, we can restructure, work with the mortgage provider. And then there are certain times when that is a tough decision and the homeowner realizes that they would need to think about selling their home and becoming a renter for a few years. So we really help in a very sensitive part of home ownership when we work with these individuals and families who realize that they need help. And I am really delighted to report that many of our mortgage providers really do a fantastic job working because, you know, when you provide the mortgage, you don't want the house back, you want your mortgage, you want your monthly payment. And so we really try to help keep the homeowners and the mortgage providers together. But we do work with many, many, many clients. Right now, it's sort of, you know, we had that particular hiatus, if you will, because of COVID, but all of that will probably change shortly, I would think, right, Sherry?
Yes, and then there's been some legislative stuff that we'll also be doing a seminar on. So So in terms of how that will be impacting foreclosures going forward, but, suffice it to say that these groups can help borrowers, access resources, gather documentation. They can explain, the modification process to them and encourage them to move forward and provide everything that the banks need in order to be able to work with them. So, we have the capability to be great partners in helping people in times of hardship in those situations so that it works out for everyone. So I can't think of, is there anything else that you can think of, Michelle, that we talked about? We wanted to make sure everybody heard.
Well, we wanted to really introduce all of our mortgage lenders to the not-for-profit world across New York State, and talk a little bit about HomeSmartNY, where and I am working on getting that up and running, and I will make sure, Sherry, that you get our new email and website address so we can share it. And I really, really encourage the mortgage providers really to work with your not-for-profit organizations, because it's a real win-win, both from your perspective and more from our home buyers perspective, because our home buyers are really entering for the first time the home buying market, and we want to make it a really wonderful experience for them, in addition to providing them with the needed resources that they need to complete the transaction. So I think working in partnership is a win-win for all of us. And I really do thank you today, Sherry, and and to Jackie, and to Christina, and of course to Kathy Calderola, our IT director, for keeping us moving right along. I told you, my daughter said I'm technologically challenged. We would keep it without Kathy.
Yeah. I want to add, just also, in addition to, obviously we want to meet with the groups, you want to talk about the loan programs that you have available, you want to build the relationships, but also you can support these groups by exhibiting at their home buyer fairs, supporting their education events, all those kinds of things. The more educated consumers and home buyers that we have in the pool, the more business there is for everybody, and the more housing that they're able to develop, the more we're able to deal with some of these inventory issues, which is another topic that we're going to be talking about in this affordable series, is some tools that are out there for addressing that as well, and some initiatives that we're looking to hopefully build out to help address those issues. So, the organization, the New York NYMBA, is working really hard to provide access to information that's going to help everyone build their business, to educate lenders that are looking to expand into underserved markets and continue to serve or better serve the folks that have traditionally been unable to access financing. So I really appreciate all the work that Michelle, I'll tell you, if you go to these guys' luncheon and you meet some of the people that they've helped, and you hear the summary of the property developed and the homes saved and the first-time home buyers put in houses and the grant funds distributed, it's really inspiring. And they're one of, about 60 groups across the state that are doing this. So we have a huge opportunity as lenders to do this, and we will continue every month to bring you new information on other tools that you can use and other partnerships that we can build in order to grow business. So just before we end, I just want to see if anybody else has any questions here.
Sure, I think you've got a question in the Q&A. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. It was, is this program on for Long Island? So, this Long Island Housing Partnership is specific to Long Island, but the program was intended to use Long Island Housing Partnership as an example of what's available across the entire state.
Right. HomeSmartNY is a statewide organization made up of not-for-profits like the Long Island Housing Partnership. So across the state, there are not-for-profits that do what we do and can provide mortgage counseling and an array of products and services that are available.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, Sherry, Michelle mentioned that there's a banker's breakfast that is held. Do you know when the next one will be?
We will be setting one up on Long Island before the end of March of this year. So all of the financial institutions will that are on Long Island will be getting an invitation. Yes. And we hold it here in our conference room. But one of the things that I'll get over to you, Sherry, is the list of not-for-profits that are still part of HomeSmart New York. And so that Christina, you may want to see if other parts of the state are going to be doing that. But yes, I do the bankers breakfast every year.
Yeah, and there's a number of groups. I'm here in Albany, and we have TRIP and Affordable Housing Partnership and Better Neighborhoods. They do an amazing home buyer fair in April that usually has over 500 people, 500 first-time home buyers or families that come through, and those things are happening. There's a group. There's groups in Rochester and Binghamton and Ithaca. I mean, they're all over New York State.
Buffalo
Yes.
had,
Yep.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep, Belmont. And so definitely, in addition to looking at the HomeSmart New York information, the HUD website lists all of the HUD approved housing counseling agencies, not all of whom are members of HomeSmart. And then the other thing I would add too about NeighborWorks is that NeighborWorks is also part of a nationwide affiliation of nonprofits. So they work on advocacy, and they also have access to, in some cases, other funds that are available at the federal level that can be available as well. So there's 16 NeighborWorks organizations in New York State, and LIHP happens to be all three: HomeSmart, HUD approved, and NeighborWorks. So any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you for
can't
having
thank you
me.
enough, and thank you for the work you do every day. It's so important.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. See you next month.
Thank you.
Bye.